Good morning. Good morning. It's Monday, y'all. I'm Taisha Lane, a licensed professional counselor, ordained minister, and the founder of Family Ties Christian Counseling, where we believe that healing is possible when biblical truth meets clinical excellence. I'm coming to you with Mental Health Mondays. Mental Health Mondays is an opportunity for you to jumpstart your work week, your school week, or just your week with a word to boost your mental health. If left unattended, weeds will overrun a garden, and so it is with sin. Unattended, ignored sin will take over our lives. Let's admit it, the enemy doesn't want us to be great. The enemy doesn't want the garden of our lives flourishing with love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. The enemy of our lives wants to destroy the garden of our souls, and he oftentimes uses the lust of the flesh, unhealthy mindsets, attitudes, beliefs to degrade our gardens. But he also uses other people's sin, other people's stuff, their issues, the things that others have said and done to us because of sin at work in their lives that is now living and seeding and bleeding and growing and breeding out into the garden of our souls. But we don't have to allow the sin of others to weasel its way into the garden of our souls to entangle and ensnare our lives. We are all subject to the weeds growing in the garden of our souls because of the nature of weeds. They are opportunistic, so weeds are going to look for any and every opportunity to grow. Weeds just need water, soil, and sunlight. So every place where water, soil, and sunlight are present, weeds will show up. Every place where there is signs of life present, essentially, weeds are going to try to show up. Where there are signs of life, guess what? Sin will try to show up. The very thing that is meant to produce life in you is the very thing that sin tries to use to feed sin at work in you. We're still pressing into the series, Oops, I Did It Again, where we are letting the light of Jesus shine a light on the root of why we do what we do, and instead of doing the things that the Spirit of God wants us to do. I told y'all about my gardening endeavors back in the pandemic. Well, while I learned about the opportunistic nature of weeds, I also discovered how deceptive weeds are. You see, what makes weeds deceptive is that weeds will oftentimes mimic what they're planted around, at least in its early germination stage. Especially if you are a novice like I was in the early germination stage of a weed, you may not be able to discern a growing weed from a growing plant. And so before you know it, what you thought was a harmless plant morphs into a whole full-grown weed that will infest your garden. Many unhealthy patterns in our lives do not look destructive at first. They often look like wisdom, protection, discernment, strength, responsibility, or even righteousness. But over time, if they are rooted in fear, if it's rooted in shame, pride, control, avoidance, or unhealed pain, they can grow into weeds that will choke out peace, love, joy, humility, trust, and connection. At first, suspicion may look like discernment. A person may say, I'm just paying attention, or I'm just being wise about who I trust. And sometimes that may be true. But if the root is fear or past betrayal, what looked like discernment can grow into hypervigilance, assuming the worst, reading into every tone, facial expression, or delay in response. Control can look like responsibility in the beginning. A person may be organized, proactive, and committed to doing things well. But if the deeper root is anxiety, fear of failure, or a fear of being disappointed, Responsibility can slowly but surely become rigidity, micromanaging, criticism, or difficulty letting others lead. Some weeds do not look dangerous when they first begin to grow. In the same way, some emotional and behavioral patterns do not look unhealthy at first. Avoidance can look like boundaries. Perfectionism can look like excellence. But over time, the root reveals the fruit. What is planted in fear, shame, pride, or pain will eventually produce something different than what is planted in love, truth, humility, and trust. Just because a weed seems harmless does not mean that it is harmless. Just because perfectionism, avoidance, control, harshness, rescuing seems harmless does not mean that ignoring it won't be ruinous to our souls. If left alone and unattended, these weeds will choke out the good fruit that God is trying to produce in our lives. So the question is not only what is growing in my life, the deeper question is, what is it rooted in? Because the root will eventually reveal the fruit. The goal in these reflection questions is not shame. The goal is discernment. I want to share with you that Family Ties Christian Counseling's website has a facelift. It has a new URL website, which is familytieschristiantherapy.com. You can also access the website through the old URL, which is familytieschristiancounseling.co. I invite you to check out the website and learn more about my counseling practice. Again, I'm Taisha. This is Mental Health Mondays. There is healing in the help, and your help, it comes from the Lord. I'll see you next week.